I thought I killed you with the time button.
I've been tunneling for decades. Want to go around again?
Futurama is considered to be one of the greatest animated shows of all time. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Screen Lab. And today, we'll be reliving the adventures of the Planet Express crew, and also talk about Easter eggs you may have missed on the show. So, to begin, here are the top 10 details in Futurama that almost everybody missed.
God, it's the future.
Number 10. Bender is from Mexico. If there's one character that defines Futurama, it's undeniably Bender Bending Rodriguez.
I'm a horrible robot!
Much like Homer is to The Simpsons, and Peter Griffin is to Family Guy, Bender is the most iconic character to ever come out of the show. Fans easily embraced the blunt and vulgar robot when he first appeared in Futurama's first ever episode in 1999. And it seemed that the show's writers took note of his massive popularity, giving him the best jokes, which haven't only aged like fine wine, but also spawned countless of memes throughout the years. Despite mostly getting the Planet Express crew into trouble and telling them to bite his shiny metal ass, Bender actually has one of the best character arcs in the show, especially when it comes to his robotic origins. And if his story couldn't get any more hilarious, we found out that he was actually assembled in Tijuana, Mexico, technically making him a full-blooded Mexican. We were first given a tease of Bender's origins in the Season 3's The Luck of the Fryish, where he revealed to the crew his full name for the first time. Since then, the show would constantly address him as Bender Bending Rodriguez, and in Season 6, Lethal Inspection, his Mexican backstory would come full circle as he returns to Tijuana in search for his inspection records. As Bender would say, "My story is a lot like yours, only more interesting because it involves robots." He's definitely not wrong.
Because I happen to have a flawless Spanish accent.
Number 9. Leela's parents. It's safe to say that the Planet Express crew isn't the smartest bunch. Thankfully, they got Turanga Leela, the one-eyed ass-kicking mutant who also happens to pilot the Planet Express ship. An expert both in hand-to-hand and armed combat, Leela is essentially the muscle of the group, and even oftentimes the brains.
Oh, please. Really?
Although we often see Leela as a tough and domineering pilot, her personality is actually a result of a traumatic childhood, being abandoned as a baby and living most of her life in isolation. Early episodes would often refer to Leela as the last of her species, but it is later revealed that Leela isn't actually an alien, but a mutant born in the sewers of New York City, abandoned by her parents so she could live a better life. Although we would see a reunion in Season 4, the Turangas were actually teased in the Season 2 episode I Second That Emotion, standing behind the crowd in New York sewers.
This is the happiest moment of my life!
Number 8. Pazuzu. Even if you haven't watched every single episode, you know that the show references classic and popular works of literature every now and then. From Moby Dick to Pride and Prejudice, and even Lord of the Rings. Futurama loves to incorporate a lot of bookish moments on the show, sometimes even incorporating it in the main plot. In Season 4's Teenage Mutant Leela's Hurdles, we are introduced to a gargoyle named Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, you ungrateful gargoyle!
Professor Farnsworth's pet, who escapes but later returns to save his life towards the end of the episode. Pazuzu is actually a reference to the Eiffel Tower demon in the French graphic novel The Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc-Sec, which was later developed into a live-action film in 2010. Pazuzu is also a prominent figure in Assyrian and Babylonian mythology and was the name of the demon in the 1973 horror film The Exorcist. Number 7. Seymour. Despite being a comedy for the most part, Futurama sure had a number of touching and emotional moments, such as Fry saying goodbye to his mother and Leela's parents abandoning their daughter. But if there's one episode that has got us crying, it's the one involving Fry's adorable and loyal dog, Seymour.
I had Seymour till he was 3. That's when I knew him.
In Season 4's Jurassic Bark, we see Seymour waiting at pizzeria for his best friend to return. What's heartbreaking is that Seymour waits for years and has no clue that Fry has been launched 1,000 years into the future. If Seymour and Fry's relationship ring any bells, then you've guessed it right. Hachiko, Japan's most famous dog, greeted his master every single day at the Shibuya train station in Tokyo after he would return home from work. When his master died and never returned home, Hachiko would continue to wait at the station for 9 more years. Much like Seymour, Hachiko's loyalty to his master is heartwarming, as it is heartbreaking, showing that dogs are undeniably man's best friend. Does anyone have some tissue? Stupid onions.
But he forgot me a long, long time ago.
Number 6. Opening titles. Matt Groening loves to put some tiny details in his shows, especially in the opening credits. In The Simpsons, you'll never know who's assembling on the sofa, and in Futurama, you may have noticed that the text being displayed during the title sequence changes every now and then. In fact, the text changes numerous times throughout the show's 9 seasons. It's a lot, but here are some of our favorites. From the makers of Futurama, Bender's Humor by Microsoft Joke, and not a substitute for human interaction. Sorry, introverts. The Simpsons episode was no different as well.
Simpson in the future.
A show that's out of ideas teams up with a show out of episodes. Hilarious yet upsetting at the same time, as Simpsons would air a year after Futurama premiered its final episode in 2013. If you love Futurama as well as The Simpsons and Family Guy, then you'll surely love what we have in store for you at the end of the video.
I come from the future.
Number 5. Richard Nixon. Much like its spiritual sibling The Simpsons, Futurama is a show that isn't afraid to create satires based on US politics. And throughout its 9-year run, it has made a living poking fun at former President Richard Nixon. If you aren't into American history and politics, Nixon was the country's president from 1969 to 1974. Although he had a number of achievements such as easing tensions with the Soviet Union and establishing the Environmental Protection Agency, his presidency was eventually defined by one scandal: Watergate. Amidst the public outcry of his alleged involvement in the scandal, Nixon resigned in 1974. And up to this day, Nixon continues to be the only president in United States history to voluntarily leave the White House. Since his resignation, media has never stopped portraying Nixon as a villain. Futurama continued the trend and didn't hold back, preserving Nixon's head in a jar and making him one of the show's main antagonists. He would even become Earth's president in the year 3000, then again in 3012, after beating a time-traveling senator. Aside from Bender, Fry, and Professor Farnsworth providing most of the laughs on the show, it's undeniable that Richard Nixon's head steals every scene whenever he's on, giving us some great satire that don't only reference his presidency, but also America's current socio-economic issues. This has got us thinking, Jarhead Nixon and Jarhead Trump would be a great idea for a future spin-off.
What the?
We missed.
Number 4. Bender is a Mac. If you thought everyone's favorite alcoholic and foul-mouthed robot was just a piece of trash assembled together, then you're mostly right. But you may have missed that Bender is actually a piece of quality and expensive trash. A product by no other than tech giant Apple. In the Season 1 finale, Professor Farnsworth scans Bender with a device called the F-Ray, revealing that Bender is powered by the 6502 microprocessor, the same processor that ran the Apple II, as well as the Atari 2600, and the Nintendo Entertainment System. Apple even sponsored Bender's supposed death in Season 7. where folk singer Silicon Red also sang Mac-themed eulogy in remembrance of the robot. Futurama writer David Cohen actually confirmed that Bender's Apple origins are actually canon. In an interview with entertainment company Vulture, Cohen mentioned that Bender was a result of his love for programming, in which the writer also added that all of the programming work during his high school years was done in his 1 MHz 6502 processor computer.
I can't go through the rest of my life like this!
Number 3. The Ken Keeler Theorem. If you thought The Big Bang Theory was the first smart comedy show on television, then you've completely forgotten that Futurama was just as good, if not better, in delivering the nerdy punchline. In fact, the show is composed of academics you would never expect writing for an Emmy-winning comedy series.
I'm unstoppable!
According to reports, the writing staff held a total of 7 master's degrees and 3 PhDs, with most finishing their education at Harvard University, unsurprisingly. They were so smart that they even created a theory on brain switching, which was shown on the season 6 episode, The Prisoner of Benda. In the episode, we see the Harlem Globetrotters still in their basketball jerseys, but appearing to take a new career path in the future, presenting to our protagonists a formula that allows switching brains with someone else, and the brains eventually returning to their original hosts. Instead of some random scribbles, writer Ken Keeler, who holds a PhD in applied mathematics, created a real formula. Keeler would not only win a Writers Guild of America award for outstanding animation, but also get massive acclaim in the mathematics community for what is now called the Futurama or the Ken Keeler Theorem. Although David Cohen assured that the formula isn't too difficult to replicate, you bet, we won't be even close to trying it anytime soon.
Characterize your inversion theorem.
Number 2. Billy West. When it comes to animated shows, the voices behind the characters don't often get a lot of love. But as every animation fan would know, these voices are essential in bringing the characters to life. It's no different with Futurama, which actually had one of the best voice actors ever on board throughout its entire run. Billy West, considered as the modern-day Mel Blanc, the voice behind most of our beloved Looney Tunes characters. West has made a career of providing distinct voices to nearly a dozen characters. In Futurama, he actually voices 4 persons: Philip Fry, Professor Farnsworth, Dr. John Zoidberg, and Zap Brannigan. If you're in awe in how he voiced 4 completely different characters, well, so are we. In a 2010 interview, West mentioned that he drew a lot of inspiration from his childhood and love for movies to portray his multiple roles on Futurama. He also mentioned that Fry's voice was basically him when he was 25 years old. So if you're wondering how West sounded when he was a young adult, you might as well listen to Fry talking.
Wow! Yay!
Aside from Futurama, West has also some very impressive credentials, voicing Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd in 1996 Space Jam, and both Ren and Stimpy in the Nickelodeon animated show Ren and Stimpy.
What? Are you crazy?
And number 1, Simpsons and Family Guy references. Futurama, The Simpsons, and Family Guy have referenced each other for the longest time. As you know, The Simpsons and Futurama are developed by one person, Matt Groening. And despite some similar themes in both shows, most notably the animation, Futurama still managed to differentiate itself from its yellow family counterpart and become one of the most successful shows in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Unsurprisingly, Simpsons and Futurama characters would cross over in each other's shows. And it's quite not difficult to notice that Fry, Bender, and Leela share similar personalities with Bart, Homer, and Marge Simpson.
All right, Teddy boy!
Lisa and Bart even mentioned in the Simpson crossover episode, Simsorama, that Bender is basically their dad but with antenna. Although we didn't get to see a lot of Family Guy moments in Futurama, we still got a big laugh in one scene from the Futurama film Bender's Big Score. In the scene, we see a Family Guy calendar with a heading that states 12 laughs a year, and a parent swipe at Family Guy's lack of humor.
What time is it? Time for you to shut up!
So there you have it. What was the stuff in this video that you almost missed while watching Futurama? Leave a comment below. And if you plan on binge watching Bender, Fry, Leela, and the rest of the Planet Express crew's misadventures, you can stream every Futurama episode on Hulu right now. If you enjoyed this video, you can also check out the 10 Family Guy fan theories so crazy they might be true. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video, especially if you've been tasting purple for quite some time now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.